What's up? We got some problems. What's new, right? So I don't even know if I'm getting this right as far as his title, but is it the Secretary of the Supreme Security Council of Iran just put out a really interesting statement, which has me, on alert. It's an interesting statement for a lot of reasons. Let me pull it up here. What's up to everybody that's here early? I'm not gonna wait for anybody right now. I'm just gonna start doing this. Let me show this. If you tune in after the fact, or if you tune in a little later, just rewind. It's important. If you haven't seen this already, Laranjani, if I'm pronouncing this properly, Ali Laranjani, put out this tweet. Hold on, let me get rid of the music. I've heard that the remaining members of Epstein's network have devised a conspiracy to create an incident similar to 9/11 and blame it on Iran. Blame Iran for it. I think that's incredibly interesting. Just the wording of this, right? So I've heard that the remaining members of Epstein's network have devised a conspiracy to create an incident similar to 9/11 and blame Iran for it. So the first sentence off top, the Epstein's network, either this is an insult or he knows something or both, right? Like, I mean, it's like a jab of sorts, calling the Trump administration the Epstein network, but essentially it is, right? We go up and down MAGA and the people that are in power, how they're associated with Jeffrey Epstein. It's ridiculous, right? You don't find that type of association with any other group, right? You find associations, of course, with other groups, but to the level, to the degree, to the scale that you see MAGA intimately involved with pedophilia, which is something that they came out against and something that propelled them to the White House, right? The projection of this narcissistic regime, this malignant narcissistic regime, the authoritarian populist child in chief, the monster in the swamp that, the swamp that he allegedly drained and refilled with his nonsense, the Epstein class. I heard other people call them the Epstein class. And maybe that should be the verbiage that we all use moving forward. They are the Epstein class, the pedophile class, the disgusting class, right? We call them the elite because of the status that they hold in society. But this guy right here just comes out swinging from the beginning and calls them the Epstein class, the remaining members of the Epstein class, whomever hasn't been killed off at this point or thrown in jail, because around the world, they're actually taking action on this. Here in the United States, everybody's sitting on your ass, sitting on your hands, and still supporting pedophiles in some cases. So I just thought that was incredible. That was a hard shot here. It said the Epstein class is planning a conspiracy similar to 9/11 to blame it on Iran. So we know the history behind the September 11th attacks, right? We know that there are some issues with the official story, right? We still are looking for adequate answers for some things. Now, some things are out there, and that can be explained, and some things can't, right? Like how these hijackers were trained here in the United States by our military, right? And how were they allowed in? They were allowed to live here for how long, right? And the government knew about this and let it rock, right? Amongst other things. Building 7, of course. Things like that. These are things that we should have answers for. Now, Iran is saying that 9/11 was a false flag. This is what this man is saying in this tweet that he put out. He's saying 9/11 was a false flag. We know it was a false flag. And the Epstein class, the pieces of trash that are in charge right now, are trying to pull off another one and they want to blame it on us. We're gonna concentrate on that a little bit after we read the rest of this and talk about that. Iran fundamentally opposes such terrorist schemes and has no war with the American people. So we can take this in several different directions. Has no war with the American people. Do we believe this guy? You know, I would say that the probability of something popping off here in the United States is high, given what's going on, right? I would also say that there are motivations on behalf of, I don't know, sleeper cells, quote unquote, that they say are here that might drive to something like this. Maybe not even sleeper cells, just regular people that have been radicalized, and they'll carry out the attacks. But we cannot rule out what this man is saying. We cannot rule out the Epstein class, which are the worst of the worst. Zero scruples, zero morality, right? We cannot rule out that they can put together some type of false flag and carry it out on the American people and blame it on Iran for a plethora of reasons. So the fact that this man is putting this out for all to see is crucial, given what's going to occur here in this nation moving forward as a result of this stupid war that nobody wants, right? By this incompetent regime, this ridiculously racist regime. I mean, I don't know what else I can say about them to describe what we have in power here in the United States. The true swamp, the real New World Order, right? Will they put together some type of false flag? Will they activate the quote unquote terror cells that are here in the United States? And we talk about, the 9/11 hijackers. Muhammad Atta was living in Florida, snorting cocaine with strippers and dancing on top of tables here in the United States before, and this is supposed to be a Muslim that was devout, right? I mean, of course, anybody that knows anything about Islam knows that a devout Muslim isn't even coming close to doing anything like that. So who this guy Muhammad Atta was, I don't know. Doesn't sound to me like a guy that is going to sacrifice himself, his life, for Islam, right? Because he's already doing everything else wrong. He's already disgracing his religion by dancing with strippers and snorting cocaine and, doing all types of stuff, which is documented, and you guys can go find that. This is what Muhammad Atta was doing in this country prior to allegedly blowing up the World Trade Centers, right? So how did these people get in the country in the first place? How many of these sleeper cells have already been identified by the United States government? If they're even here in the first place. We could be getting gamed and they could be lying to us. We have to keep that in mind as well. Although I don't think they are. I think these people are here. and I think the United States government let them in here. And I think they will be allowed to operate when it's time for them to operate. Call me crazy. But now it's the dangerous time. There could be radicalized people that just do it. And we can't rule that out. I want to touch on a story that came out a little later if I have some time. We do have a guest coming on in the second hour. Hopefully he makes it. But I do want to talk about this AI woman that's been all over the place. Beautiful white girl, all over the place, has over 1 million followers. She's MAGA, quote unquote. She's AI. She's not even real, but people think she is. So I mean, there is the element of the new age propaganda, 5th generation warfare that is out there and is radicalizing minds without having to have the brick and mortar style sleeper cell, right? That is trained to do these things, and they're here, and they're double, triple agents, and they'll carry out these attacks. You will have people that will not organically, but as close to organic as possible, carry out an attack like this. We can't rule that out either, right? These are things that are realities. So we have to keep that in mind. But can we put it past these people to set off a false flag here in the United States? I would say no, we cannot. And we need to scrutinize these events. We need to hold them completely accountable and ask for total transparency when these events are investigated. Now, nothing has happened yet, thank the Lord. But the threat is real. So who does it benefit? We always talk about here in the alternative media, who benefits? Qui bono, right, is what they say. Who benefits, who benefits, who benefits? Who benefits from Jeffrey Epstein being killed in his jail cell? Who benefits? Who was in power when it freaking happened? Because I think it's reasonable to assume that this guy was killed, man, right? He didn't kill himself already. That even the Epstein files are revealing some of this stuff. The guy didn't freaking kill himself, right? I mean, come on. So who was responsible for murdering this guy? Who had the most to gain by murdering Jeffrey Epstein? And if you're honest with yourself, and if you're real about the situation, and you don't, you don't mind it shattering your paradigm as long as you're following the truth, I would say it's Donald Trump and the Epstein class that had the most to gain by getting rid of Jeffrey Epstein. So who would have the most to gain by carrying out a false flag attack with quote unquote Iranian sleeper cells here in the United States? And if it happens, it's probably going to happen here in New York, or Los Angeles, Dallas, Chicago, Miami, one of the major cities that it's probably where it'll happen. We need to, if you're in a major city, you need to keep your eyes open. From here on in, for the next 3 years, this could come closer to the midterm elections this November. The guy is scared as hell. Steve Bannon is scared as hell. Steve Bannon thinks he's going to go to jail. He has said this. He says, if we lose the midterm elections, I and a bunch of other people are going to jail. Donald Trump has said it. They're going to impeach me. They're going to impeach me. If you don't go out and vote, although voting is rigged, and they'll rig the election, they're going to rig the election. So, but that doesn't matter. Please go out and vote, because if you don't go out and vote and we lose, I'm going to get impeached. I'm going to get arrested, and I'm going to go to jail. And we don't want that. We don't want Donald Trump to go to jail. They love Trump. The people love Trump. Everybody loves Trump. The Iranian military loves Trump. So who has the most to gain? And if it doesn't happen in the midterms, will it happen closer to 2028 when the guy has to go? Will they try to pull off a attack of some sort at that time? He's already flirted with the idea in public, talking about if we are at war. He was talking to Zelensky because he wants Zelensky to have elections immediately. Zelensky's like, we're at war. It's against our charter, right? Their constitution, whatever they call it. It's against that, to have elections during wartime. And Donald Trump doesn't give a shit, right? He's like, hey, I want elections. I want you out. And he's like, and Zelensky's like, no. But and then Donald Trump made the joke, and we have footage of this. I don't have it here. I'll cue it up maybe next week. And he says, well, if we're in war, if this is wartime, do I get to stay in power? Is that all it takes? He said this. This is Donald Trump saying it. So things start to become a little bit clearer when we try to look for explanations as to why this war is going on. And people are going deep, right? They're looking for very deep explanations, and I get it. We've been doing these things for some time, looking for the deeper explanations to world events and how some of these wars and how it affects the geopolitical landscape, and inevitably it does, right? But I would argue that when it comes to Donald Trump, we don't have to dig too deep, although there are things that come out of his surface level view of the world that, of course, digging deep would bear some fruit, right? But Donald Trump himself, a very simple individual, right? So what comes out of all of this? They're going to try to pop off some shit. I wouldn't be shocked if he tried to stay in power in this form. Try is the operative word. Will he be successful? I don't think so. I hope not. MAGA is fucking falling apart. MAGA is on a life support. I think it's dead. Life support is keeping it alive. But you unplug the life support, boom, it's over. And it's going to get unplugged very soon. Very soon. So we can't stop. We can't stop picking at the armor. We can't stop driving the stake figuratively into the heart of MAGA and doing away with this forever. Of course, there will still be an aspect of it. There's still Nazis that live out there, as ridiculous as that sounds. So there will still be MAGAs that are out there. But generally, in a large scale, MAGA should be done. They've been exposed to such a large point that it is even hard for the cult members or the ex-cult members to come to terms with what is going on. And they're like, what is going on here? We didn't vote for this. Yes, you did. You did totally vote for this. But I'm glad that you're figuring out that it's not what you want and you're pulling away from it. Regardless, here we go with the false flags. And this is why I didn't want this piece of filth to be in office, because what the hell? Now, we've attacked Iran for no reason whatsoever. And we're in a war for no reason whatsoever. Well, unless you're Benjamin Netanyahu and it becomes perfectly clear why you're in that war. But as it relates to us here in the United States, right, if we are, quote unquote, America first, this does not benefit us in any way. He's talking about other nations. Trump is saying that other nations are going to get involved and try to clear up the Strait of Hormuz or whatever, and none of that's been confirmed. I don't think any of that is happening. This is Trump talking out his ass all over again. So now, how are the Iranians going to fight back? They're saying they don't want war with the American people, and I want to believe that. The American people do not want war with the Iranian people. We don't. We don't want war with the Jewish people. We don't want war. The people of America, by and large, do not want war. And I would think that it's the same thing in Iran. And I would think that it's the same thing in Israel and in other places. Sure, you're going to have people that feel differently, and they have very large voices, and we feel that everybody thinks that way in those places. But this is not the truth. This is not the truth. So will they pop off something like this in order to manipulate people and get them behind an attack on Israel? On Iran. Get them behind it, blame them. They will be the scapegoat. Islam has been the scapegoat forever, since I've been alive. And then since after 9/11, it's just been Islam, right? So it won't take a lot of MAGA too much to convince that it was Iran that pulled off whatever attack they're talking about here. They will automatically go for it as soon as it's presented. Oh, it was Iran. Yes, it was. And boom, they're going to follow it down, and that'll be the end of it. But we here in the alt media, some of us here, we here at the Guerrilla Underground, I could say that I think I can speak for a lot of us, for the majority of us here at Gorilla Underground, here at America Unplugged. Even if they hate me, will be skeptical of such things. If an attack is pulled off, they will be skeptical of such attacks, and that's good. We need to figure out what's going on, and we need to hold everybody accountable. All of these people are guilty until proven innocent. That's the attitude they take towards us. It is the attitude we must take towards them. They need to prove to us that they have not carried out any of this stuff, and what they're saying is true. That's the attitude I take. So when something like this pops off, I have to look at the facts and go from there. Hopefully it won't happen. But if it happens, we need to look straight at the Epstein class. They will be my first suspect of interest, is the Epstein class. 100%. They are the people that we need to look at this if something, they're guilty of it regardless. Whether they pull off such attack or not, the attack would take place as a result of their dumb foreign policy, of their reckless foreign policy, and their reckless handling of our military. So either way, they're at fault, the Epstein class. Are they distracting from the Epstein files? This is another thing that's been going around that people talk about, that they are, this is happening because they are distracting from the Epstein files. And while I don't subscribe to that point of view, I do think, I don't fully subscribe to that point of view, but I do think the timing is very interesting here. Right. So it's not like I'm ruling it out altogether. I think there are many reasons why this is happening, and distracting from Epstein, which it has successfully done, is one of those reasons. Although it's only temporary. Epstein will never go away. It's never going to go away, because it was one of the founding of the centerpieces of the MAGA movement, was Epstein and the pedophilia ring that was run by these crazy leftists, right? By Hillary Clinton and the left, and John Podesta and all of these people. And the MAGA regime used it. They used it to get themselves where they are now. And they said they were going to produce the evidence, and they've done no such thing. And any evidence that has been produced has them being incriminated, largely. So they're desperate. They're going to get very desperate. It's not going to go away. MAGA is not going to forget about this. And good for them. Because most of MAGA are true believers. They truly believe, even though I feel their beliefs are wrong in many respects. They are true believers in the cause. They are true believers of the cult. They believe the cult leader. And now that the cult leader is being exposed, they're starting to turn. And they're like, well, you promised X, Y, and Z. You promised us transparency on Epstein. You promised all of this. And we're not getting it. And it's so evident that they're not getting it, that they're not going to forget about it. So even though right now it might not be the point of attention that it was before, with everything going on with Iran, which is still not going well. If he used this to distract from Epstein, he might want to bring back Epstein, because this is blowing up in his face too. Because another thing that they said was no new wars. No new wars. You will get no new wars from us. And of course, this is the second time they're assaulting Iran. And this one doesn't seem to be going as the other one did, right? They went in and out on the other one. They said that they destroyed the nuclear capabilities of Iran completely and totally. Obliterated was the word that was used. And that turned out to be a lie. Oh, gosh, golly, wow. You don't say. They were lying about that? You don't say. You know? Of course they were lying about that. They've lied about everything else, right? So that turned out to be a giant lie, and MAGA's upset at that. They're pissed at that, as they should be. So these things aren't looking real good, which is what leads me to believe that they are on life support, and largely this is over. All right, this whole MAGA experiment is over. It's done. It's dead. It's over, man. All we have to do is pull the cord. And I say we get together and do it together, pull the cord, and boom. Of course, we have to deal with this for another 3 years. I don't know how long Donald Trump will live. His health is horrible. So I don't know how long it will happen, right? If he goes for the next 3 years. And if he does, it's going to be horrible. This isn't, while MAGA might be dead, the idiot that started MAGA is still in power. So we still have to deal with this stuff, but even if he doesn't make it, we have to deal with JD Vance, but that's a different situation altogether because nobody likes JD Vance. Even MAGA doesn't like JD Vance, unless you're like a super hardcore and you're going to be in it regardless. So most people don't even dig JD Vance, right? So if that happens, it's over. This is over. If you're still invested in this, it's a delusion. That's it. It's a total and complete delusion if you are still invested in anything. There was a video of Jake Paul dancing with Donald Trump earlier this week. And I saw that and I could not understand for the life of me why he would do something like that. How do you align yourself with a person that's being accused of pedophilia? How does that happen? You're such a big star and you want to take photos and dance with some dude that's in the Epstein files more than anyone? I don't get it. So there's still that aspect of things, but largely this shit is dead, bro. Largely this is over. And it's a beautiful thing. And I'm very happy to be able to bring you that news. We still have a long way to go. We're still going to have to put up with a lot of nonsense. There's 3 more years of this, man. And then he's going to try to stay later. He's going to try to stay later. They're going to try to keep power. They do not intend to release power. Will they be successful is a different story. I highly doubt it, but they do not intend to release power. So we're going to see some shit. We're going to see some stuff pop off. But the movement as it was once known is dead. It is over. I am sorry to tell you, if you are invested in it, it's over. Look at this that I saw on X. This is on X, which is a cesspool of disinformation, a cesspool for MAGA. There are people there's a small contingency of people that are actively resisting against the big orange buffoon. And this is up there. Promise everything, deliver nothing, blame Biden. That's exactly the strategy. Promise everything. I don't know why people bought it. Deliver nothing because he never was able to. He was never going to. He can't. Because he's so wrong about so many things. The guy's freaking delusional. He has dementia. And then blame Joe Biden. Because people bought it for so long. Like, yeah, let's blame Joe. It's Joe Biden's fault. Joe Biden, Joe Biden, Joe Biden, Joe Biden. At some point, you have to come to the realization that Joe Biden is not in power anymore. It's the big orange buffoon that you put in there. And he is the guy that's responsible for all of this shit. Look at Pete Hegseth, drunken Pete Hegseth. Let's rebuild the third temple, Pete Hegseth. Saying that if you question the Iran war, it's offensive to the troops. It's offensive to the troops. Let's play this for you guys so you guys can hear it. Let me unmute it. We're doing it big time today.
Because you, and I mean specifically you, the press, specifically you, the press corps, because you cheer against Trump so hard. It's like in your DNA and in your blood to cheer against Trump because you want him not to be successful so bad. You have to cheer against the efficacy of these strikes. You have to hope maybe they weren't effective. Maybe the way the Trump administration has represented them isn't true. So let's take half-truths, spun information, leaked information.
This is something else. My God. Like everything that they do is what he's throwing against, he's throwing at everyone else. You know, and he's trying to say that it's like the Trump derangement syndrome argument. You hate Donald Trump so much you can't see what he's doing. You can't see it because you don't want to see it. Right? That's pretty much what he's saying. You don't want to see it. You want things to go wrong instead of just saying, yeah, well, he's never going to say this. He's responsible for the screw up. Well, the most incompetent Secretary of Defense that there's ever been, the most unqualified. He shouldn't even sniff that microphone that he's talking into. But yet he's standing there. And because things are going so wrong, because things are going so badly, he's trying to justify why people are reporting what they're reporting and saying, oh, you just hate Donald Trump and you want things to go wrong. You want us to fail. You know what we want? We don't want to be in a stupid ass war, asshole. Why don't you freaking withdraw all the troops? We'd be very happy with that. Instead of trying to say, oh, we're doing so great and you hate it just because Donald Trump is doing it. And that's essentially what he's saying right now.
And then spin it in every way we can to try to cause doubt and manipulate the public mind over whether or not our brave pilots were successful. How many stories have been written about how hard it is to, I don't know, fly a plane for 36 hours?
Oh, please don't talk bad about me. Oh, please don't criticize me. I'm the Secretary of War. Praise me. Please praise me. Don't say a bad word about me or about my Lord and Savior, Donald J. Trump. Because if you do, you're clearly wrong. Why don't you write a story about how hard it is to fly a plane? If people die, why don't you just ignore that? Don't write a story about the troops that are dying. Don't write a story about the American people that don't want this. This is our military, you piece of filth. It's our money. This buffoon, it's reported that he spent $92 billion in a month of taxpayer money. $92 billion. That's a lot of money. And these same people that argued against forgiving student loans, that argued against free buses or free childcare or stuff like that, they're perfectly fine with $92 billion being spent on lobster and steak. And they were like, some people were telling me, oh, well, that was some of that lobster and that steak was given to our service members before they went off to war. Well, maybe they shouldn't have been sent to war in the freaking first place. $92 billion. How the hell did that happen? Incredible.
Has MSNBC done that story? Has Fox? Have we done the story how hard that is? Have we done it 2 or 3 times so that American people understand? How about how difficult it is to shoot a drone from an F-15 or 16 or F-22 or F-35?
Have we done it 2 or 3 times? That's an interesting phrase also. Have we done it 2 to 3 times? They want to continue to repeat a message so you buy it, so you internalize it, and so you agree with it eventually. They want to repeat it and repeat it and repeat it and repeat it. It doesn't matter if it's true. It doesn't matter if it's correct. All that matters is that it's the message that puts them in the best light, and that it's repeated over and over and over again. And that way, you end up believing it.
What it's like to man a Patriot battery, or how hard it is to refuel midair, giving the American people an understanding of how complex and sophisticated this mission really was. There are so many aspects of what our brave men and women did that, because of the hatred of this press corps, are undermined.
And this shit isn't working anymore. This worked for Donald Trump during 2016, 2020, even 2024, 2024, the 2024 election to a degree. But it's finally run its course. This whole, oh, you guys, it's fake news. It's fake news. It's fake news. That deflection doesn't work anymore. They are the fake news. They've always been. Not to say that the mainstream media didn't get stuff wrong also. Not to say that the mainstream media isn't biased also. But Donald Trump and his band of gypsies, and that's, no offense to gypsies, Donald Trump and his regime are the masters of this. They are the ones spitting out the fake news. They are the ones spitting out the disinformation. And they've been doing it for a long, long time. And people that have been so fed up with the mainstream media bought it because, finally somebody's saying what I've been thinking. Finally, somebody is looking out for us, but they never were. Never, not once. When Donald Trump would say fake news, it was just because he was deflecting, not because it was actually fake news. And for a long time, a segment of the American people bought into that, but they're not buying into it anymore. So this is a play from the old MAGA playbook that Pete Hegseth is running right now. Saying that, the mainstream media isn't doing this because it's fake news, it's not legitimate, and they just hatred of Trump, TDS. That's why they're doing this. People aren't buying this anymore. They're just not, and it's beautiful.
Because people are trying to leak and spin that it wasn't successful. It's irresponsible.
This dude is talking to us about irresponsibility. Oh, man, what happened with the Signal Gate? Remember that? Not too long. I mean, it feels like an eternity ago, but it hasn't been that long. Well, this dude was leaking military secrets on a text and gave it to a journalist. And when the journalist reported it, it was fake news, according to Hegseth. But we knew it was real because it was happening in real time. It's like this dude is something else. Talk about irresponsibility.
And folks in this room are privy to that information because of the proximity here in the Pentagon. It's an important responsibility. And time again, classified information is leaked or peddled for political purposes to try to make the president look bad. And what's really happening is you're undermining the success of incredible B-2 pilots and incredible F-35 pilots and incredible refuelers and incredible air defenders who accomplished their mission, set back a nuclear program in ways that other presidents would have dreamed. How about we celebrate that?
And if they put, because Trump is actively looking for a way out of this. It's not happening, of course, right? The Iranians aren't giving up. They're not trying to negotiate. I hope it happens at some point, but it's not happening now. Hold on, let's finish this clip.
How about we talk about how special America is, that we have these capabilities? I think it's too much to ask, unfortunately, for the fake.
So to say that, that Trump has delayed this regime, the Iranian regime, so much, 6 months ago or however long it's been since they attacked the first time, they said they obliterated their nuclear capabilities and it's over. They set them back for how long? And now they're using that as one of the plethora of excuses as to why they did this. They're saying, well, they were weeks away from a nuclear bomb. So what did they do that last time that you guys claimed it was over? That you set back Iran for so long, right? And Trump should be praised for it. They're going to do it again. If this doesn't erupt into World War III, you better believe that if this erupts into World War III, then we're in it, right? But if it doesn't, this isn't over. They'll go back. And this is why the Iranians don't want to negotiate, because it's been happening too often. So if for some reason this stops, hopefully it will, the MAGA regime will go back into Iran and bomb them again within the next 3 years. It's the probabilities are so high of that happening. And they'll use the same type of message. They'll say, well, how come You're not praising Donald Trump for stopping this regime, which he hasn't done either. Yeah, they killed the Ayatollah. His son took over, and his son is pissed. You killed his father. They killed his sister, I heard. They killed his uncle. They killed a ton of his family. So this dude is pissed, and he's supposed to be even more of a hardliner, according to reports, than the original supreme leader who was just killed.
News. So we're used to that. But we also have an opportunity to stand at the podium and read the truth of what's really happening. And the reality is, you want to call it destroyed, you want to call it defeated, you want to call it obliterated, choose your word. This was an historically successful attack, and we should celebrate it as Americans. And it gives us a chance to have peace, chance to have a deal, and an opportunity to prevent a nuclear Iran, which is something President Trump talked about for 20 years.
Peace through war. Peace through strength is what they say. Here's Paula White. We're gonna come back to Paula White soon. Peace through strength. It's never gonna happen. It's never gonna happen. It's just not what's going down. This is another thing that's been circulating the net as of late for some reason. The Trump assassination attempt in Butler, Pennsylvania. We'll play this. I mean, you guys can see it. It's just fight. And you see the blood coming down here and the people erupted in the back. Like, I'd be ducking, They're shooting people, And I'm like, hell no. These people are back there like, yeah, fight. This is and you know what? Hold on, let me speak to you. Let me take this down real quick. And then I'll put it back up and we can discuss it. We can discuss some of this. Let me see the time. My guest should, 45. My guest should be coming on soon. And I'll transition over to him. Let me say what's up to the chat real quick, and then we can talk about this fake assassination attempt if you thought it was fake. I don't know. But Twisted, what's up? How you doing, sir? What's going on? Who's this? Nature Poet. What's up, buddy? How you doing? Chris Matthews, 420. What's going on? How are you? Dustin Helm is in the chat. What is going on? Kenny Powers, my guy. Another subject besides Trump. Let me put this up. Kenny Powers says, you need to get another subject besides Trump. What would you rather me talk about, sir? What would you rather me talk about? You want me to talk about the Royal Rumble? You want me to talk about WrestleMania? I could do that. You want me to talk about Tartaria? We could talk about the flat earth. There's a big eruption on the net about Bigfoot. Lately, there's been more Bigfoot sightings, about 6 or 7. So I could talk about that. Would you like me to talk about the fake moon landing? Would you like me to talk about that? I could discuss that. What other things can we talk about? Jesus Christ being mushrooms. I think that was Joe Atwell's conspiracy theory. We could talk about that. We could talk about The Shining and the conspiracy theory about The Shining and the moon landing and Stanley Kubrick filming the moon landing. We could do that. We could talk about Pizzagate, but that automatically goes back to Trump, so let's negate that. Epstein, but that automatically goes back to Trump, so we can negate that. World War III, but that automatically goes back to Trump, so we can negate that. The assault on our liberties, but that automatically goes back to Trump, so we can negate that. Let's see. Oh, the AI surveillance state. Yeah. We could talk about that without talking about Donald Trump. Oh, no, we can't, can we? Yeah, we can't do that because they're trying to surveil us through immigration policies put forth by whom? Donald Trump. Okay, so I guess we can't talk about that anymore. What cryptozoology? We could talk about the dog man. I don't see how that has anything to do with Donald Trump. So we could discuss that. Dog man. I don't know, the 13 bloodlines of the Illuminati. You want me to call up Fritz Springmeier? I know him. I have him on my phone. I guess I could call him up. I mean, I hope he's alive. It's been years since I've spoken to him. We could talk about that. But inevitably, that's going to come into Donald Trump also. So maybe not. Give me something. Give me something, guys. Give me something. Give me something that I can talk about that does not involve Donald J. Trump right now. Okay. Give me something relevant that means something. Because people in the conspiracy movement, I figured out they want to talk conspiracy and they want to be happy about it. They want to talk about all these conspiracies that are going down, and then they're like, let's chill. Let's not talk about these things. Let's talk about something else that makes us happy. But the thing is, shit's going down. Shit is real, right? And we have to get to a point where we can look at this stuff in the eye, realize what's going down, and do something about it. I thought that's what we were doing here. That's what I thought. But largely, a lot of these conspiracy theorists, a lot of these quote unquote truthers it's just nonsense. They never really meant it. Some of them thought they did, but they didn't. They just didn't. They don't have it in them. Kenny, I understand, my guy. I understand. You want me to go back and talk about things that I used to talk about before. I quite frankly don't have the desire to do so because it's not relevant, and that's putting it lightly. It was a massive distraction. I can go back and maybe I will at some point do shows on like time traveling and ghost hunting, hauntings and stuff like that for fun, because those are fun things to talk about. But look at where we are right now and tell me how I divorce that from Donald Trump. How do we divorce ourselves from it? So let's say I start talking about the moon landing, which I have no interest in talking about because ultimately it doesn't even freaking matter, right? Let's talk about the moon landing. I can automatically bring it back to Donald Trump and just say, how come he hasn't released the moon landing files that talk about the fraud that was done and how they never made it up there in the first place? How come they haven't released that? They're supposed to be the most transparent Do you remember this? The most transparent administration in the history of this country. This is what they built themselves on. This is what they ran on. How am I supposed to ignore that? How am I supposed to ignore that? When they took advantage of everyone here. And they've been doing it for years and years and years and years. And they will continue to do so. So no, I will not change until further notice. And that's just it. Give me something else. Give me something else. Hold on. Boom. Here we go. O.J. Simpson was innocent. Stop ducking the. Let's talk about OJ. Was OJ friends with Donald Trump? If it doesn't fit, you must have quit. Maybe if Johnny Cochran was around, he might have got him off on all this Epstein stuff. But Johnny Cochran is no longer around. Let me see what is here goes Dustin. Dustin remembers. If it doesn't fit, you must have quit. Hey, Kenny, give me something, bro. Give me something. This guy is destroying the world and I'm supposed to talk about something else? I mean, we can have a fun show. I don't know. We can let's talk about Twilight Zone. I love the Twilight Zone. Let's talk about Black Mirror and the dystopian artificial intelligence future that's coming. But how do we talk about that without going back to this administration? Did we forget about Elon Musk and Peter Thiel already? Did we forget about it? This is the technocrat administration. So will I be intellectually dishonest by discussing these things and not talking about the Trump regime and their role in it? I don't know. Just saying, bruh. You understand? Like this is something we have to put on our big boy pants around here. We have to do it. And we have to start facing things for what they are. Oh, I don't want to talk about bad news. I get it. You don't want to hear bad news. Guess what? We're freaking in it. We're in it. I don't want to talk about World War III. Well, let's hope it doesn't happen. But it's not looking good at this point. And who was directly responsible for that? Vladimir Zelensky. Like everybody was screaming. If I got up here and started talking crap about Joe Biden, how many people would be just fine with that? So please give me some subjects that we can talk about other than Donald Trump and the Trump regime. Last time I checked, they're the ones responsible for all of the crap that's going down. Just saying. Let me see if my guest is here. Nope, 7:54. I'm going to give him a little bit of time. I told him to show up at 8 o'clock. So if he does, great. If he doesn't, I'll dip out a little bit early today. And go do something else, right? Because listen, you think I want to be here? I mean, I love talking to you guys. And I love broadcasting. It's something I fell in love with as a result of trying to, quote unquote, change the world and do something with the alternative media and being a truther, right? I wanted to have affect some type of change. And I didn't know how to do that. So I figured, let's pick up the microphone and start talking and have a podcast, and have a show like Alex Jones, right? And so that's how, so I fell in love with the art of it. It's fun. I did live radio for a long time. And that was so much fun too. But I'd rather talk about the fun conspiracies out there if I'm going to talk about anything. I can't even talk about WWE anymore because it sucks so bad, and they are directly linked to Donald Trump. WWE, the UFC, and it's hard for me morally to support something like this. And I'm not saying I'm an angel or anything, but their values do not align with mine at all. At all. So I look at what they're doing and I don't want to have anything to do with it. It's difficult for me, even though the WWE product is trash. So it's easier in that aspect of it. But I've been watching it all my life. So I still turn it on. I still keep tabs on it, and I still do a show with some of my friends. And quite frankly, Kenny, we do that show with my friends with Bello and Striz just because they're friends. Otherwise, we wouldn't be doing a show. Because I barely watch wrestling. So I get up there and just talk out of all the knowledge, all the years of knowledge that I have on professional wrestling. And that's why I talk what I talk there. Because I really don't watch it. But I am the one that gets accused of having Trump derangement syndrome. I don't want to talk about this guy. Let him go. But I don't have a choice, because every relevant conspiracy theory that most of us engaged in for the last, I don't know how many years, gave us this man. It produced this. So how do I ignore that? If I'm here for the reasons that I say that I am here for, if I'm here for a journey to find the truth at all costs, no matter where it may lead, how do I ignore this when it is the most real conspiracy that we have in this bubble that we've been living in for so long? It is the way out. It is the Rosetta Stone of all of this shit. And we start figuring out how we've been manipulated as a result of this crap, because he is so evidently a con man, so evidently a piece of shit, so evidently the stupidest to ever hold that office. And as of right now, the most disliked president at this point in time ever in the history of this country. And that's just a fact. What's up, buddy?
What's going on, buddy? How you doing?
This is surreal, bro. How you doing? Is that really your name? I was going to ask you that, and I didn't get a chance to talk to you off air. So this is
the Andy part's real, but I'm getting feedback where I'm hearing like a minute ago. So
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe shut down and come back in if you want. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. We
Okay,
should have done a sound check, and that's my fault.
well,
We should have
that's
done
okay.
that. What's up, buddy?
Let me try shutting down and coming back.
All right, bud. Go ahead and do that. That's my guy, bro. I follow him on X. He's one of the few voices on X that I dig. And I asked him if he would join me on a show one day, and boom, here he is. So it's kind of surreal to see him. And I didn't think that was his name, or maybe it's not. Buck Sterling. I don't even know if I'm saying it properly, but go follow him. He's always retweeting something dope. Hold on for a second. He's back. Let me see. Are you back?
Yeah, I'm back, and now we're live. So that was me. I think I was running your show simultaneously on the app, and that's why I was getting the feedback. But I heard you introduce me, and thank you, man. Retweeting dope stuff.
It's dope. No, I love your account.
Thank you.
And there is, I was just telling the people that, X is such a cesspool of disinformation and nonsense. Not that I just can't, but I've been there for so long, and I don't really do social media. It's the only social media that I have. I have a Instagram account, but I just look at stuff. I don't post anything. That might change at some point, but and I stumbled onto your account. I'm like, oh, this is great. So I like to retweet your stuff. You're pretty clever, and witty, and you have a lot of interesting posts and things that I wouldn't have seen other than by you. You know what I mean? Like you retweeted or you posted, and I'm like, oh. So I started following other people as a result of it. But all right. Andy's your real name.
Andy is my real name. Absolutely.
Buck Sterling is not. Am I saying that properly?
Yeah, you're saying it properly. Buck Sterling, that's a long story how that name came about. It was actually, I'll just tell you, as a teenager when I was in the Marine Corps, we all had our porn star names. So my porn star name was Buck Sterling. And so that's where that literally came from. Now, of course, that's a long time ago in a land far, far away, but
Yo, I had a fictional porn star name. It was Strokes Rodriguez. So
I like that. Yeah,
that was mine.
That would have fit in back in the Marine Corps days, no doubt about it. But I was listening to you earlier, and you were talking about all the Bigfoot and the flat Earth, and which I don't want to associate the moon because I think the Apollo was a fraud. But you've been around a long time, and though I haven't been public, I've been a conspiracy theorist since the early '90s, and I've already done all that. And it was great to listen to Jeff Rentz and Sherman Skolnick, all these guys, and you come up with all this weird stuff or whatever in Art Bell. But 9/11 kind of that was the end of that for me. Because I mean, things got real at that point. Right. So all that stuff you read about Committee of 300 and all that stuff, you could see it in action at that point, and it's been that way ever since. So I really all the fluff and the Art Bell and the Bigfoot and all that, it's enjoyable. I mean, I'll entertain it and bounce it around, but to sit around and talk about it, nah, bro.
No, I get it. And I want to sit around and talk about it sometimes. It's fun.
Yeah,
right?
it's fun.
It's funny you should say that because. I talked to my boy John Brissom. I don't know if you're familiar, and we talk about the stages of this. We're trying to suss out exactly how this gone down, how this entire thing has gone down. And you were talking about that you came into the movement in the 90s or early 90s?
Yeah, early 90s, Tex Mar. Well, I have a little bit of a background with and I'll tell you that in a second with say Iran-Contra. I was always politically into politics even as a kid. Right. But man, my dad turned me on to this book by Tex Mar, and he was like a big time author, and was kind of like a Christian conspiracy theorist type guy. Right. And if you ever get the book Dark Majesty, it's a really good read today because it's like evergreen. Right. And man, that just blew my mind. And from then on, it was Art Bell, Jeff Rentz, especially in those days, because he had a lot more of an eclectic grouping of people other than Art's usual junk that he had on there. And so you kind of go through the 90s, and like I said, all of a sudden, man, 9/11 just that's the ice pick to the forehead moment. And
it's really interesting to hear you say that, and I'll tell you why. I was handed Behold a Pale Horse in 98. So I was further along. I mean, I came later than you did. You were in this earlier than I did. When 9/11 hit, that was my real introduction into it. Like somebody handed me Behold a Pale Horse, but I didn't really understand it. I
Right.
thought I did, and I was like, I remember doing a report in school about it, and it was like very badly researched, and they picked me apart, and destroyed me on it. And then 9/11 happened, and of course I'm here in New York, so I was in the city when it happened. I saw the towers collapse. I used to work at the towers. I have a long history in downtown Manhattan. So that hit me hard, but it was my real introduction into all of this. So while it changed you, like you don't want to talk about that stuff anymore, that was my introduction into all of that. You know what I mean? Like, and that's what happens. That's what I think happened in 2016, 2017 to a new crop of people, right? Like 9/11 was it for me. While you were like at that point, because you were further along than me. And this is why people don't understand about me, because they've come along in 2017 or 2020, and I'm like, I've been doing this for this long already. So that completely changed my paradigm already. And so 9/11 did to you what 2016, 2017, 2018, 2020 did to me. I'm like, I'm not talking about that stuff anymore.
Well, yeah, because things just get really too real. And I'll tell you another thing, and this is not to put anybody down. Hey, anybody that if you woke up in 2016, 2020, hey, welcome to the fold. Get on the right shows. Watch David Knight. Watch the T-Lab crew. Watch America Unplugged. People like that. That's where you're going to hear real people talking about real things, and there's not a bunch of interjected nonsense, because there are most of these YouTube shows. And what I was going to say is that we came along before the Google video age.
Right.
We and the whole thing's changed since then, because you've had so many podcasts. You got a lot of people get inserted talking about nonsense. We went from 9/11 truth to arguing over whether the towers are even real,
right.
Planes, all this stuff. And then around 2014 is when it really got bad. All of a sudden, flat Earth came out of nowhere, and you had all this misinformation. So I can imagine waking up in 2016, 2020, there's a lot of just nonsense out there. So I see where people get sidetracked.
I mean, it's for me, and I don't want to speak for you, and I brought you on for that purpose, because I'm very interested how you got where you were. Because it's like there's not a lot of us. There's really not. And even within our group, there's differences, right? Like we don't align on a lot of things. We just align on what's going on now is a big problem, and we need to concentrate on that. But I'm very interested to know how you became such so outspoken on what's going on right now. You said you were always politically inclined, but I mean, like, this is the first time I'm ever talking to Andy.
Yeah, this is our first time ever. And well, getting on X, I wasted a lot of time on, I've been married 30 years. I've had kids, and, you're working and you're doing all that stuff. And I really didn't even do social media. You're doing Facebook with your, like people you've known all your life or your family. But getting on X really got me a platform where I could really, express myself and pick out what I'm going to retweet or what news article I'm going to put up, and then put my commentary on top. And my commentary comes from just watching this stuff all these years and knowing how we got here. A lot of people don't understand. If you talk to people, they have no clue, especially people my age do not know how we got from 2001 to today. They don't have a clue. Most of them didn't even wake up politically to the last years of Obama, and all they knew was, man, there's a scary black Muslim dude in there, man, and they fell on Fox News. They accepted Trump as their Lord and Savior, and that's all they know, man. He's out there holding them libs, man. He's doing this, and that's the height of it. Yeah. Or some of them get a little. Then I had a few friends fall into Q. And I had to try to, talk them out of that. That was really bad. I mean, that got really bad. A lot of people really went off the deep end with that. And I found that most of the people that did were former normie Republicans that just fell for Q, hook, line, and sinker. And anytime you talk to him, it's always a 33D chess move by Trump. It's always some judo backflip that he's got going. And I just don't know. That's what you just don't know, Andy. You just hadn't done your research, man.
Right.
I got to watch the right YouTube channel or something. I don't know what I'm not doing, but apparently I'm lost when it comes to all that. So.
No, I mean, this is typical. Same with me. I get that very often. Liz, the Iron Maiden, how are you? I miss TFR. Yeah, and the good old days when things seemed less crazy. Like I was on TFR for years, doing a live broadcast out of there, and we would broadcast to thousands of people. Like it was like 3,000, 5,000 people at once. We would broadcast out of there, and it was a nice community of people. And she said it best. It was the good old days. I remember Liz from there. She's been nice enough to stick around with me all these years. But those were the good old days. We were able to talk about all of those things, saying that they were going to happen, but they didn't actually happen until they happened. But now it's happened, right? So now it's a different story altogether. Like it's the good old will never come back. TFR is dead. TFR is a dead station. It doesn't exist anymore. But it was a different, at least for me, it was a different feel. Like something everybody gets snapped into. I don't even know how to properly say it, brother. You hit the iceberg, like the Titanic hits the iceberg at some point, but that iceberg is different for everybody. So what happened with me, it was just like I hit an iceberg and I'm like, whoa, all of this stuff doesn't matter. And most of it is wrong anyway. But what I want to talk to you about is what you think is the most relevant thing right now. I see you posting a bunch of stuff. You post stuff on Epstein. You post stuff on the Iran war. You're pretty hard on Donald Trump and the regime. And I love that about you. Right. Daniel McAdams is another one that's been hard on this. Like, so I follow him because it's fantastic, to see those voices. Republicans against Trump. I follow that account. They are, even though they're more mainline, they pump out a lot of stuff and they're pretty. So what do you think is something we should be concentrating on? I get shit for concentrating on Trump as much as I do. But I think it's necessary. I think we need to do that. Feel free to disagree with me, Andy.
Concentrating on Trump is the thing to do, and it's been very effective. You've seen a lot of people dissolve from the MAGA movement, and it's really down to the hardcore Q adjacent style. I mean, look what the slop Jones puts out. Right. I mean, it's not QAnon, it's Q adjacent. So, right. So if Trump does something, they'll fall back on that lore of 33. He won't use the word 33D chess, but he'll say something similar to that to explain Trump. But the biggest thing that we face, the war obviously is a huge one, but the digital prison is the thing, and Trump is rolling it in at warp speed, and we have to be absolutely unbelievably vigilant. I mean, go to your state house, use the federalist model, because I can tell you we can't do anything about Washington. You can just forget it. Voting is just I mean, that's just the most nonsensical thing on the planet, because if you go vote, the government's going to win. It don't matter whether they wrap it up in a MAGA friendly package for you to eat, or if it's you're into this blue anon thing and you think they're going to give you free health care and all that's going to fall out of the sky. None of that's going to happen. None of it. And if it does happen, it's going to be in a way that's bad for you. I can promise you, it's going to further lock you down. It's going to further turn you into a slave, no matter how it goes. It just depends on how you want to drink it. You want it in a glass, you want it in a cup, plastic cup, or whatever. They're going to give it to you. They're going to oblige you. And one of my favorite things to say, and it's very true, is you've got this political, this uniparty here that we're a part of, that, the people are left and right, and the left want to lock up the people on the right, and the right want to lock up the people on the left. So the government's heard you. They've heard that, well, Americans want other Americans locked up. They just can't decide on why. So we'll just oblige them and start locking people up. So yeah, we have to keep an eye on the digital prison, the alligator Alcatraz, which is for us. That's not for illegal. It ain't for none of that. That is for us 100%. And they're going to start locking up dissidents. You can go back to Rex 84, Garden Plot, Cable Splicer, all that, through the Patriot Act, through the NDAA, labeling Americans as enemy combatants or terrorists. They're really going to do it, and it's going to happen under Trump, and the people are going to love it. They're going to cheer, yay, man, Trump, man, he's locking up them liberals, man. It's going to be the greatest until it's them.
Yes.
They bring in Rahm Emanuel. Rahm Emanuel's the head of DHS, and Oprah's your president. And then all of a sudden they're going to start rocking up MAGA. And then it ain't going to be cool. This will be, but my rights, man.
Yeah, man.
Well, no, you don't care about everybody else's rights. So why should anybody care about yours?
Well, the thing is, feel free to disagree with me. I feel like we've come to a point where, first off, there's not going to be any arrest, right? I mean, Trump isn't. I think Trump is so incompetent that he doesn't even know how to put together a decent fictional scheme that he can throw Letitia James in jail. They don't have anything on Letitia James. They try to put her in jail. It falls apart. They don't have anything on Comey. They try to put him in jail. It falls apart. They've been talking about Obama and Biden for how long? Nothing's going to come of that. He's talking that he's going to prove that the 2020 election was rigged. He's probably going to use Maduro as a scapegoat for it and say that Venezuela did it, and then he gets a part in or something because he says, yes, we were involved in it. Nothing's going to come of that. There's nobody going to go to jail. Now, if the Democrats do regain power, if Trump does not let go if Trump does let go of the presidency, people are going to get arrested. People are going to get arrested. And I think personally, it's for good cause. I think we have proof of law breaking, whatever, you're breaking the constitutional law, where there's what's Naomi, Noam, Christy Noam, she should be in jail. People like that. And as Steve Bannon has said it, he's like, listen, they're going to lock me up. They're going to go after people like that. Donald Trump is a criminal. He should be in jail. People say, why are you not hard on the Democrats? I've been hard on the Democrats whenever the Democrats are in power. I have a history of doing that. Donald Trump is in power now. It's him. Why am I going to talk about Barack Obama? Why am I talking about Joe Biden? I'm talking about Donald Trump. Because
and that's who we should be talking about. I'll take you back. Listen, and I'll know you remember this. Let's go back to the 2006 congressional midterm elections.
Yeah.
And at that point, most of your Democrats were to the right of MAGA, at least in the rhetoric at that point. And I remember Nancy Pelosi looking actually afraid of the constituencies because they were so hardcore. It's, look, you're going to arrest Bush. You're going to impeach Bush. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. We're going to do all these things as soon as we take control of the Congress.
Right.
Well, the first thing Nancy does is she comes in and gives retro immunity for no warrant wiretap and basically tells her constituencies just go to hell. And it just, we can't do anything. We're going to go ahead and we'll back the surge, but wait until the presidency election. Well, here comes Obama. And guess what? Obama served Bush's third and fourth term. Right. In my opinion, it was the same thing. They just passed the ball off, and it was the same thing, a different flavor, different group of guys. Nobody got arrested. If anybody was ever to be arrested, if anybody ever came in and wrecked this place, it was Bush and Cheney. Yeah. Period. End of story. Those guys should have been in prison for war crimes, criminal negligence on 9/11. Yeah. They were accessories before the fact, after the fact. Those guys should have been put in jail, and Obama could have changed this whole country if he wasn't a cardboard CIA cutout. Yeah. So I don't share your optimism for the Democrats coming back in and arresting anybody. It's going to be the same thing as WWE. I'll tell you this: when during the height of the Clinton impeachment, and Henry Hyde, I don't know if you remember this, he came out and said, "The flag is fallen." And I thought, man, that's the most WWE. And back then, I was like, politics is nothing but professional wrestling for the civically minded. That's what I come up with. And it's proven to be true. And Trump, the whole thing is WWE. And so I don't foresee any of them getting arrested unless they can find somebody who did something singularly. So if you take somebody like Comey can bring the whole circus tent down on a level that maybe even Hillary Clinton could. So that, of course, they're going to put in a Baywatch extra who's 50 years old and throw the case and not even arrest him. I called that one because I knew it wasn't going to happen. So I don't share your optimism. I wish I could.
Allow me to rephrase. You're right. Ultimately, I should have been more clear. Right. Okay. And I am. I've been covering professional wrestling for years and years and years and years. Right. So yeah, this is I think that's the reason why I became so interested in politics, because it mirrors professional wrestling so much, So I'm like, hey, I know this. I know what this looks like. I know what's going to happen here. But while people may not go to jail, I do think there will be prosecutions. I do think that, and it's going to be demanded by the people, in particular, people in our bubble that feel jilted, right? That feel that like they've been screwed over. We're gonna demand these things. What comes of it is a different story. We might get like somebody in the chat. It was Twisted in the chat said he wants to know what you think of Gavin Newsom, right? So like Gavin Newsom, the probability of him becoming the president of the United States is fairly high if everything is on the up and up, right?
Mhm.
I don't know if he'll really arrest anybody. He can come in and just say like Trump did. He was like he was going to arrest Hillary Clinton, and then he gets in power and he's like, oh, they're good people. Hillary
Mhm.
Clinton is a good people. Bill Clinton is a good person, and he just said it with Epstein. He's like, I don't want them to go after Bill. Bill's a good dude.
Yeah,
You know,
my
so
buddy.
we may see more of the same from somebody like Gavin Newsom, who is
Mhm.
gonna play both sides, right? He's gonna look to pacify things or whatever. So there is that aspect of it. So I can't say definitively that people are gonna go to jail, right? So I'll change my language on that and say there will be prosecutions. I do think that will happen. What will they go to, and who will be prosecuted is a totally different thing altogether. Also, we have to see who they will actually bring forward, right? And for what reasons. But Donald will probably never be. He may not make it to the end of this term or whatever.
That's
But
a
somebody
big
like Peter
possibility.
Hegseth, he should be prosecuted. He should be in jail. You know, he legit should be in jail. Will he ever get there? I don't know. So there's my actual position. I don't know if it'll happen. It should happen, and I think there will be actions to push in that direction. How successful they will be, I don't know. Go ahead, buddy.
Well, I was going to say that I would never look for the federal government for anything to ever happen with the federal government. So
Mm.
now, could there be state charges against some of these people? Could you create a third party within the state? Because if you cannot take over a state, you're not going to take over the federal government. So if you could politically take over a state, get the right AG in, you could start seeing some justice. Fauci's definitely one. Deborah Birx is somebody that would be who I would want to go after. She's just as guilty as Fauci, and in some ways even worse. She was behind the unscientific counting of death. She was behind all of that, changing the CID code for the
Yeah.
certificate of death in 2020 that created this whole panic around, taking a stage 4 cancer patient and running a fake test on them and saying, hey, oh, they died of COVID, and running up the numbers. That's Deborah Birx.
Mhm.
So I think that it could be done from a state level. But as far as the federal government goes, man, I just don't ever see, as long as the Republicans and Democrats are running it, that there's ever going to be any type of justice. And so far as Gavin Newsom is, it'll be like 2008. The Democrats could have ran anybody and won, but they came up with Obama. He was going to be the savior. He was their Donald Trump. He was going to hope and change, and the change never happened. And the hope went away. And I would assume that they're probably going to come up with some type of savior. I would not doubt that they might even whip out Oprah. I
Nah,
have
nah.
reason to believe that. And if
Let's
they
not,
did,
let's
it'd be a
not do
wrap.
that. We don't want to do that.
Well, it would be a wrap, though. Imagine that. Can you imagine if they ran Oprah? It'd be over with, dude. It'd be the biggest landslide, and a lot of people wouldn't want to admit that, but I'm telling you, it would be. It'd be
Yeah,
over with.
I'd have been down with you on that prior to what happened in 2024, bro. Like it's I don't know if America is ready for a woman as president. And I would have said something completely different a few years ago. I'd have been like, hell yeah, we're ready. Hell yeah, it's gonna happen. I don't know if America's ready for it. And if I were a Democrat right now and I were planning for 2028, I'm like, get me a white man right now. Right now. Get me that right now. I want who you want as the vice president. Be my guest. You want a woman, you want a man, you want whatever, like black, Asian, whatever. Pick whatever you want. But as for the president of the United States, you got to get me a white man right now. And just to be sure that they win. That's where I stand. I used to think that Michelle Obama would have won in a landslide, and a part of me still believes that. Although I'm just shaken from what happened in 2024 because I never thought we'd be back here. Talking about Donald Trump as the president of the United States. For me, it's so obvious. And I didn't realize how not obvious that is for other people. But for me, I saw this coming a mile away, and I know millions of others saw it coming a mile away as well. But I saw it so clearly that I thought everybody else did too, and that wasn't the case.
No,
And it's still not the case. It's people are still trying to back all of this stuff that's going on. And the thing that gets me more than anything else is, well, at least it's not Kamala Harris. Well, at least it's not the Democrats. I'm like, really? You hate Democrats that bad? You've been indoctrinated into this process so hard that you are cool with a known pedophile protector. You're cool with that.
Yeah.
As long as it's not Kamala Harris. So that's why I'm not so optimistic on all of that. So I would play it super safe. Get me the whitest of white men, and whomever you want as a vice president, you be my guest. But right now it looks like Gavin Newsom. Girls seem to love him. He's kind of smooth. He's not rough around the edges like Donald Trump, but people are looking to get back into normalcy. He has some charisma. He looks like the natural candidate. Say him and AOC or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, AOC. I was telling people that they weren't going to like Alligator Alcatraz when President AOC comes on board. And oh man, AOC. Look. Let me tell you something. The Democrats, they decide who their candidate is. I think we all can agree that there's no Democratic election within the Democratic primary. They install who they want. I mean, we saw that with Hillary and Bernie. Bernie won the 2016. Was it 2016?
Yeah. Was it? Or was it? No, it was 20.
Yeah, and they installed Hillary. I mean, just Bernie was the guy. Bernie took the fall too.
2016. Sorry.
Yeah, it was 2016. Yeah, and he came out and he fluffed up the crowd, got everybody all hot and ready and everything else. He takes a dive and outrolls Hillary. And you and I both know Hillary's the most hated, maybe even more than Donald Trump, of any political figure in my lifetime. And that's saying a lot. I go back a ways. And she is. Nobody likes Hillary, but they voted for her because, the people vote left or gets right. It doesn't matter. They're going to vote whatever party that they're in. But they can install whoever they want, and whoever they install, I'm assuming, is going to be the president in 2029. And it could be AOC. It could get that. It's a good idea. Yeah, grab me the white guy. Gavin he's real moldable. He's got a lot of, he's really done a number on California. And so I don't know if he could overcome that. But if he can win the nomination, I don't think the Republicans can field a candidate. They don't have a candidate.
They don't have
Trump's ruined it. He just ruined it for the whole thing.
And that's the whole point here, right? They don't have one.
No, JD Vance ain't gonna. No,
he's not a viable candidate. But regardless, I want to get a couple of things out of the way while I have you before we get up out of here.
Sure.
And thank you, buddy. I didn't even speak on time. All I just said was show up, and here he is. I didn't tell him anything else, so we're just.
Wow, I'm having a blast.
Well, thank you, buddy. We appreciate it, man. I'm happy you're here. What do you think? I started off the show with a post by the Secretary of the Supreme Council of the Security Supreme Council of Iran, he's talking about if there is a 9/11 false flag style, you should look at the Epstein class. He said they are the ones that carried it out. We are not interested in doing that. He said we are not interested in being at war with the people of America. And I thought it was a really interesting post, given the history and given who we have in power. And he just went right at it and said the Epstein class, the Epstein cult, the Epstein group, says you motherfuckers. He's just, I thought that was dope. But that being said, it could be more propaganda, right? To deflect from whatever they're actually going to do. I don't know. There's so many variables, so many unanswered questions. What do you think about the possibility of a false flag here in this country? And if there is, or not necessarily a false flag, what do you think about an attack here on this country by terrorists? And then if that happens, would you lean more towards a false flag or an organic event? Go ahead.
Well, that's a lot to unpack because you got so much stuff going on. I mean, the little things that they've had with these, like the school where the dude drove the car into the Jewish school and all that. That guy was allegedly, he's an ex-U.S. military, so that's flag number one. And then he's allegedly aligned with ISIS. Well, ISIS is a Sunni organization. So what does that have to do with the Shia? right? So everything that you see all the time, they really play this game with American people. Your average American person thinks that a Persian, who's really a Caucasian original Aryan, is some dude who lives in Qatar, that some tribes people. And so they got this whole, and I'm not trying to put anybody down, I'm just saying that they've got this one blanket image of all people in the Middle East, and the Persians aren't that. They're a whole different group of people, and they were civilized when we were still eating each other.
Mhm.
So if something's going to go down the way the Iranians have presented themselves so far, and they have, they've been very measured in their responses. It's always been tit for tat. They've always hit after they were hit first. I mean, I realize we were at war. There's going to be deception on both ends. You're not going to be able to really believe anything coming from anybody. But if anybody was more credible, it would be them. And given the history of the Mossad and the CIA and British intelligence, yeah, my first thing is going to be, it's going to be a false flag. And let me tell you this, Billy Ray, on 9/11, I already knew that Bush, when Bush got elected, I was like, we're going to have war, and it's going to be, the economy's going to go downturn. Already knew that. So I wake up on 9/11, first building's been hit. And I'm sitting here, I was in the Marine Corps Air Wing. I'm like, well, where's, this must have took off from LaGuardia or something. There's no way, how did this, plane even get in the airspace? Well, I see the second one hit live on TV.
Right.
When the first building came down, I was like everybody else, just stunned. I mean, just whatever. But when that second building came down, I looked at my wife and I said, my God, they did it. So the next day I got on Yahoo and I'm like, the government did 9/11. Boom, Alex Jones, David Icke. And yes, there was a time when search engines weren't filtered. You could get on Yahoo and look up whatever you wanted and it would be there. You'd have a million of them right there.
Mhm.
So I was onto it right away. And within a week, I mean, people don't realize how much stuff came out to tend towards an inside job. Just within a week or two, the insider trading, just all that stuff, pre-knowledge of the event, that all came out in mainstream media within just a couple of weeks. Israeli art students, all that was all coming out, by November of that year. So yeah, I would assume, it's going to be a false flag.
And that's another really good point that I think we should point out. All of that came out of the mainstream, and all of that information. We would look it up, and boom, there it would be. It would be Alex Jones. InfoWars, before they got reporters, all they would do is repost mainstream stories. That's all they would do. Where I found out about the BBC reporting on hijackers being alive and well, that was on InfoWars.
Right.
And I clicked on it and boom, it led me to the BBC. And so that's what they did often. So all of this stuff comes out of the mainstream media. So those people that talk about, well, I don't listen to the mainstream media. I don't subscribe to the mainstream media. Yeah, you do. You just do it in a different way, because all of that information is coming from there.
That's what I tell my friends. Well, man, you're a conspiracy theorist. No, dude, I get pretty much anything that I'm saying comes from mainstream. Now, I do have a knowledge of history, but anything that I'm saying, and plus I have articles, because I do a lot of forecasting, and I've been pretty accurate. I wrote an article in 2024 about a false flag war with Iran happening sometime in 25 or after, when the new administration came in. Because you could hear the drum beating, what's going to come, and you do this long enough, you can forecast fairly well.
Yeah. Well, you're absolutely right. Give me a second here. It's 8:30. I want to play this before we get up out of here. And then there's some questions for you in the chat, so I'm going to get to those.
Okay.
And then we'll get up out of here. Karen Carpenter, I see you in the chat. You're doubting BRV. I don't understand. After all this time. The oracle that I am connected to the Akashic records at this point. Yes, I was wrong about Trump being the president of the United States, but that's about it. Otherwise, I have a pretty good track record here. Okay, I'm connected to the Akashic records. I sit down and meditate. Boom, the Kundalini, all of that. I don't do that. But I'm just saying. If I did, I'd be connected to the Akashic records. I mean, it's the only way to explain how right I am about all of this stuff. But anyway, don't take my word for it. Here's Mr. Steve Bannon. Come on, Steve Bannon. What's up? The audiovisual department here, man. Hold on.
Midterms, and we lose 2028. Some in this room are going to prison, myself included.
I want to rewind that. All right, here we go. And I don't know why it does this.
If we lose the midterms and we lose 2028, some in this room are going to prison, myself included. They're not going to stop.
They're getting more and more and more radical. And we have to counter that. And what do we have to counter it with? We
counter that by putting them in jail. That's what we got to do. You know, hey, listen, Steve Bannon has been saying this from day one, as soon as Donald Trump got into office. And you could say, I mean, the guy's a master manipulator, so you can read into it, whatever you want to read into it. But he's been saying from day one, he's like, we have to do as much as we can until 2026, because it's all going to change at that point. And will they actually go to jail? I don't know. I'll be shocked. But if you think some of these people aren't going to introduce legislation to or actually bring these people up on charges, I don't know what to tell you. That shit's happening. That shit is happening. And you know what people are going to say? People are going to say it's political warfare. It's what is it? Political lawfare. That's what they're going to say. That and I want to tell you, when this is going down, please remember the crimes that these people are committing right now. Forget about who's in office. If it's Gavin Newsom, I know people hate Gavin Newsom. Forget about that. Remember the crimes that these people are committing right now. Remember that we are on the verge of World War III. Remember that 2 Americans have been killed in cold blood on the streets of America. Remember that people have been deported to foreign countries when they are citizens of the United States. And even other people have been deported to freaking Somalia, to El Salvador. You pick, and it's not even their country of origin. Remember all of that when we start talking about lawfare, when people are brought up on charges. Just saying, this is some years away. All right, so we may not even be talking about this. God willing, we're all here to talk about it at that point in time. And the fact that we can talk about it still is a privilege. It shouldn't be a privilege. It is our right to be able to talk about it. But I'm just saying, things are so bad. The fact that we are able to do this right now is a gift from the Lord. So we need to
Amen.
Keep that in mind as well. Sir, I'll give you thoughts on that, and then we'll go to questions.
There's going to be a lot of political hyperbole between now and the midterm elections. I mean, does Bannon have real concerns? It sounds like, some projection to me. Bannon's committed crimes. He's projecting there. But right now, everything's going to be to scare the shit out of the base. They already know midterms come down to participation, period. In the story, it's not like the presidential election cycle every 4 years. So whoever participates is going to win. And there's just not going to be a Republican participation. It's just not going to happen. People are going to stay home because they don't care. Because Trump, a lot of people that have left MAGA or whatever you want to call it, that Trump was their last chance, and they realized that. And Trump's just completely turned his heel on them, just like the wrestling when they turn into the bad guy. He's done that. Told them to just all go get screwed. Shove Epstein up your butt, all that good stuff. So they're just not going to show up, and the Democrats are going to win. So, but I think Bannon's just out there doing his cheerleading, trying to get people scared because they can't run on anything, so they got to run on fear. That's all they can run on.
Well, that's all they do. It's all a big scare tactic, and it's worked largely to this point. Tinfoil Hat Girl, how are you? Greetings and blessings to you. Yeah, I got it. I see it. I'm gonna watch it. I got it. I saw it not too long ago, so I didn't have time to watch it, but I will try to watch it this week. I'm very interested. So thank you so much for sending that to me. I appreciate you. Twisted says that no one's going to jail except for dissidents on both sides. I will tell you this, and this is a point of disagreement between him and I, because he said that the Epstein files were released just for division's sake. If you look around the world, things are actually happening. Prince Andrew being one of them, and he is not. He's part of the Epstein class. He is up there. And there's things happening in Poland. There are things happening here in the United States. There are not happening because, Donald Trump is our president. But I shouldn't talk about that. I should talk about the moon landing instead, or about Tupac being gay. People want flat Earth. People want or he wants your opinion on that. So we're gonna go to that soon. Give me a second. As soon as I find the questions, I think that was the question. If you have questions for my guest, please submit them. Otherwise, we're getting up out of here. But I want to find the question that he had for you. Otherwise, I'm just going to tell you the question. If I don't find it, I'm looking for the comment. There were a couple, but I'm horrible at keeping track of any of this, Andy. So my apologies.
It's all good.
he did want to know your thoughts on Tupac being gay. Because that's a conspiracy theory that's going around, and Candace Owens has been pushing for some time, and it's been popularized now, for some reason. I don't think there's any evidence of it, but I don't know.
Yeah, well, yeah, well, okay, yeah. I mean, you scroll through X, you see things, and there's this video of Tupac, when he was a teenager, and he's coming off really thin. Now, is there obviously some homosexuality that goes on amongst the gangster rappers? Well, that's obvious, with P. Diddy. These people were into this kind of thing, and was Tupac gay? Man, I really don't know. Yeah, I really don't know. But the whole P. Diddy thing did shine a light on the record industry and what all goes on with stars behind the scenes and all that. And there's obviously, some pretty degenerate perversion going on behind the scenes. So, but whether Tupac was gay or not, I mean, it's really neither here. I don't mean to be rude. It's just not neither here or there for me.
Right. I agree with you. I don't know what it matters, but I pointed out as an example of the disinformation that's going on, right? And how easy it is for people to fall into it, because people want to believe these things.
Yeah.
Right. So that's why I pointed out, and also he wants to know, since you've been an OG in this since the early 90s, I think that's why he's asking these questions. OJ innocent?
He was found innocent by a jury of his peers.
Right.
So I mean, there's certain, I'm not like some kind of anarchist, man. I mean, I believe in the federalist system. I believe in the way the government's set up. I believe in the courts. He had good attorneys. Would someone else other than OJ have gotten off and be found innocent? Maybe not. If he didn't have the money, he would have got railroaded into it. But apparently, they did not prove their case. If you're asking my personal opinion, based on how it all went down over the years, OJ, if he didn't do it, he was on the scene when it happened. He hired somebody to do it. Something was up. He was involved in some way, but did he actually do it? I have to go with the jury on that.
All right.
I don't really know what to say.
Fantastic, brother. We appreciate you, man. Hey, listen, we got to have you back at some point. And,
sure. I love it.
And have a more structured show. And I've been running around with my head on fire, like a chicken without a head is the expression. So
well, I enjoy just chopping it up. We can do it either way. But what I will do is I will send you a couple links to some articles I've written. They're all on my X account if you ever get time to read them.
Awesome. I'd love to.
That, because that's really what I do. I like to write articles. But
that's dope. Do you have any anything you want to plug? Give out your X account at the very least.
Yeah, it'd be Andy_Buck Sterling, as it's presented on the screen there, but it'll be an underscore between Andy and Buck Sterling. And if you go to my page, please follow me if you wish. And then also just scroll to articles, and you'll find articles that I've moved over from my Substack, which I do what's called the Insubordinate Substack. And hopefully one day I'll be maybe even doing an Insubordinate podcast.
That's dope. Let me know how I can help.
I might hit you up on that.
Yeah, man. No, absolutely. I'd love to help, and you should do a podcast. It'd be dope. We got 73 strong here today. I appreciate everybody listening to wherever you are. Thank you so much on YouTube and on X. Please go over and subscribe on YouTube. Putting up one video a week, if that, is difficult to grow an audience over there, right? So it's and sometimes I don't even put up a video. Like if I just don't have the time. So I'm looking to put up more content, maybe shorter content. I'll maybe take a news article, dissect it for 20 minutes and keep it moving. That way I can have more of a presence over there. But go and subscribe if you so choose. And on X, you guys know where to find me. That's about it. And I will be putting stuff up on the infinitefringe.podbeam.com. I know I've been saying that for some time. But I'm going to turn it into the Guerrilla Underground and throw stuff up there too. I actually logged into my account the other day and there's still people there downloading stuff, which is incredible to me. I had about 200 downloads of what I don't know, but 200 people downloaded shows. So what's up with you guys, whomever you are? I haven't been active there for years at this point, but I logged into the account because I'm gonna transform it. It's a process. I'll get there at some point. Anyway, Andy, man, it's been a pleasure, brother. Thank you for coming on.
Absolutely.
Do not hang up.
For having me.
Don't hang up. Most of the people that were here thought you were great. They loved you. Gorilla Underground, 7 p.m. Eastern, Sundays on X, and of course on YouTube. Of course, we got America Unplugged at 12 p.m. On Saturdays, 12 p.m. Eastern. And that's it. That's all we got. Of course, not our sister program, Knights of the Storm at 2 p.m. Go check them on Knights of the Storm at Rumble. And Guard Goldsmith, who does a show every week, go check him. Liberty Conspiracy on Rumble. Wayne McCroy does the Alchemical Beacon. Go check him. I don't remember the times. But that's pretty much the fam. It's us. Tony Arterburn does his show. You know where to find him, and Don Jeffries. So that's it. All right. Thank you for tuning in, everybody that has. See you guys next week. Hopefully nothing pops off next week to the point that we have to, I don't know, do a more serious podcast. Maybe next week we could talk about, Bigfoot. Let's talk about Bigfoot. And maybe, I want to talk about the orange Bigfoot. That's a thing. There's the brown Bigfoot, but there's also the orange Bigfoot. And I'm sure I can link that to Donald Trump in some way, shape, or form. So everybody tune in. We'll get the best of both worlds. I can talk about Donald Trump. I'll give you Bigfoot. It's all good. Everybody will be happy. No music to sign off today, but thank you, everybody. Go enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Have an excellent week. See you guys next weekend, Lord willing. Take it easy now. Bye.
Bye.
Hold on, buddy.